Hi everyone, my name is Murray Godfrey and I am the instructor of History 218 Native American History this term. So I want to thank you for taking the class and we're very happy you're here. So I'm going to give a little introduction material beyond my other introduction material that I uploaded for the class, and this will be a little more specific to Native American history. So a couple points I want to make before we get started. First, a little about myself. Again, I told you my name, Murray Godfrey. I'm originally from Texas. I'm from the southern part of Texas that's near the border with Mexico and near the coast. Grew up there. I went to college at a college called Texas State, which is in the Austin metro area between San Antonio and Austin. So it's kind of like the school's same size and scope as what Oregon State is here. And I did my bachelor's there and my master's degree there, and worked a variety of jobs. I was in the Army for 6 years, Army National Guard, and I did 2 deployments in the 2000s. And then I finished college, came back from that, and worked a variety of jobs. And then I went to grad school, and while I was in graduate school, for history, I studied. Speaking of which, my undergraduate majors were, I had a double major of history and geography. And I had a minor of political science at the time. I was thinking I was going to be a social studies teacher in a Texas high school, and they had you do a social studies composite type thing. And that's what I was working on, and you could rank which subject you wanted to be the highest priority, and my ranking was history, geography, political science, and economics. Then the Army intervened, and I did those deployments. And then when I got back, I finished my degree, and I decided I wanted to do graduate school for history. And then I did that, and my area of focus was the history of relations between Native Americans and the colonists in colonial New England in the 1600s and the 17th century, between about 1640 and 1678 or so. And so a lot of my work focused on the 1660s and 70s in particular, and how the colonists interacted with the Native Americans, how the Native Americans interacted with them, based on the documents that I was able to find from that era in that particular time and place, which was New England in the 17th century. And so I did a lot of work in the archives in New England. So that's where my background in Native American history comes in, and I got more interested in it, so I took a number of Native American themed classes. I just want to stress that I am not Native American. You're not going to catch me claiming to be Native. I am not. And so I just want to stress that. But I studied the history of Native Americans. That's why I'm teaching this class. If you want to get a perspective around here from someone who is a tribal member, I highly recommend you take one of our ethnic studies courses with Gabrielle Hall, who's a member of the Klamath tribal community. So after I finished that, worked a few jobs in Texas, and then I applied for jobs all over the place, and Oregon was one of the places that came up, and so I moved here in 2012. And here I am. And now I'm the department chair, which is a ton of work. I've been in Zoom meetings all week, and those are terrible. Zoom does not make things easier, it makes things worse, which I'm sure a lot of you understand with taking all these online classes. So that's a little bit about me. I've done a lot of different things. Before I was a history instructor, and lived in a number of different places, lived in 4 or 5 different states, in large part because of the Army, and I was overseas for a while. So that's about me. You guys have given your About You information, and I'm really happy about that. Thanks for sharing. And we'll get started. Another note about what I'm going to do in the class. So I'm going to generally use the term Native to refer to Native Americans. So this is always a difficulty, and what do you call them? Indians is obviously a misnomer. In a lot of your readings, you'll see Indian and Native American used interchangeably, and some of the older books are gonna be not quite so up to speed on the terms or current terms. Most Native Americans I know prefer to be called by whatever their tribal designation is, and so if they're a Wasco Native, they say I'm Wasco. They don't call themselves Indians. So when possible, I'll use the tribal community name when I can, but in general, I'm going to use the term Native, which most of the Native people I know, that's what they prefer over Indian or something like that. So, but they primarily prefer their tribal designation. That's who they are. So I'll use that when possible when talking about the various groups. But there's a lot of groups, and so it's easy to forget that we use one kind of umbrella term that doesn't exactly describe people accurately. But it's kind of the same thing with calling people white. Before 50 years ago, that wouldn't have been a very accurate designation either. So there are many different kinds, and so if you call people Native, you're kind of referring to this umbrella group of indigenous people that come from the Americas. But if you want to be respectful, and we'll try to do this as much as possible, you want to use the tribal designation. Alrighty, so thanks for listening, and we'll get started.